The first American pope just called the U.S. treatment of immigrants inhuman and not pro-life, sparking a massive political firestorm. But this debate is ancient. In the book of Genesis, the city of Sodom wasn't just destroyed for its debauchery. Its ultimate sin was its brutal inhospitality to strangers. The Bible is filled with commands to welcome the foreigner, with the story of Ruth, an immigrant who becomes an ancestor of Jesus, at its heart. Even Jesus himself was a refugee, his family fleeing to Egypt to escape a murderous king. The Pope's controversial statement isn't a new political take, it's a direct echo of one of the Bible's oldest and most consistent moral commands. It forces a question. Can a nation that closes its borders truly follow a faith founded by a refugee? What do you think?
Elon Musk is calling for a Netflix boycott over its trans representation, creating a massive hypocrisy debate since he has a trans daughter. But this exact conflict between personal values and public action is a classic biblical theme. Remember the rich young ruler? He asked Jesus what he needed to do for eternal life, but when told to sell his possessions and give to the poor, he walked away sad because he couldn't part with his wealth. He wanted the reward, but wasn't willing to make the sacrifice. Musk's boycott, seen by many as a move to protect his platform X from competition, mirrors this ancient story. It's a timeless warning about how wealth and power can complicate our moral convictions, forcing us to choose between what we say we believe and what we're willing to give up. It's a 2,000-year-old story playing out on your timeline today.
Rapture Talk is back. After the September 24th no-show, a new date is trending for this weekend, October 6-7, with people joking that God must have been using the wrong calendar. While it's easy to laugh, the Bible actually has a built-in system for this exact situation. In Deuteronomy 18, it gives a simple test for identifying a false prophet. If what they predict doesn't come true, then God did not speak through them. It's a divine fact check. The repeated failed predictions of Rapture Talk aren't a failure of faith, but a real-time demonstration of this ancient biblical principle. The Bible literally gave us a way to spot the fakes, and we're watching it play out in our For You pages. So, when the world doesn't end this weekend, don't be surprised. The Bible told you so.
A major Christian influencer is in hot water this week after his alleged nude photos were leaked online, sparking a huge debate about hypocrisy. But this kind of scandal is as old as religion itself. Jesus' harshest words were reserved for the Pharisees, the religious influencers of his day. He called them whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside but full of corruption and filth on the inside. He accused them of preaching piety in public while being full of greed and self-indulgence in private. The pattern is identical, a public image of holiness that masks private sin. The viral downfall of a modern influencer isn't a new phenomenon. It's the same story Jesus warned about 2,000 years ago, a timeless reminder that public piety is meaningless without private integrity. It's Matthew 23, but with a TikTok account.
The Catholic Church is in the middle of a civil war, with a cardinal and a bishop publicly fighting over giving an award to a pro-choice politician. But this kind of leadership clash is right there in the New Testament. In the book of Galatians, the Apostle Paul describes a time he publicly confronted Peter, the first pope, to his face. Why? Because Peter was being a hypocrite, eating with non-Jewish Christians in private, but refusing to do so when the religious hardliners from Jerusalem showed up. Paul called him out for compromising the core message of the gospel for political reasons. This wasn't a quiet disagreement. It was a public showdown between the two most powerful leaders in the early church. The current Catholic controversy isn't a sign of modern decay. It's proof that church authority has always been messy and contested.
Elon Musk's controversial boycott of Netflix is being seen by many as a business move disguised as a moral stance, and it brings up an ancient conflict: wealth versus faith. While Musk uses his platform to declare what's right and wrong, his actions often seem to benefit his own financial empire, X. This is a modern version of a story that made Jesus furious. When he entered the temple in Jerusalem, he found the money changers had turned a house of prayer into a marketplace, exploiting worshipers for profit. He didn't just debate them, he flipped their tables and drove them out with a whip. It was a violent outburst against the mixing of divine worship and financial gain. It makes you wonder, what would Jesus think of today's billionaire prophets who use morality as a tool for market share? The public infighting between Catholic leaders over politics feels like the church is tearing itself apart. But this isn't the first time a religious movement has faced a rebellion from within. In the book of Numbers, a man named Korah led a major uprising against Moses and Aaron, accusing them of having too much power. He gathered 250 community leaders and challenged Moses' authority directly. The conflict got so intense that God had to intervene in the most dramatic way possible. The earth literally opened up and swallowed Korah and his followers whole. While today's church divisions probably won't end in a sinkhole, the story of Korah is a terrifying precedent for what happens when internal division challenges divine authority. It's a biblical warning about the high stakes of religious civil war.
The Rapture Talk prophets who got the September date wrong are now predicting it for this weekend, but the Bible has a chilling warning for them. In the book of Jeremiah, a false prophet named Hananiah directly contradicted the prophet Jeremiah's warnings from God. Hananiah confidently predicted peace and the return of exiles within 2 years, a message everyone wanted to hear. Jeremiah's response was simple: if the prophecy of peace comes true, we'll know God sent you. But then Jeremiah delivered a direct message from God to the false prophet. You have made this people trust in a lie. Therefore, this very year, you are going to die. And 2 months later, Hananiah was dead. It's a brutal reminder that in the Bible, making false predictions in God's name wasn't just embarrassing, it was a capital offense.
The scandal of a Christian influencer's private photos being leaked online feels like a uniquely modern form of public shaming. But the story of a powerful, righteous man brought down by sexual scandal and public exposure is one of the most famous in the Bible. King David was known as a man after God's own heart, but he had an affair with a married woman, Bathsheba, and got her pregnant. He then tried to cover it up, ultimately having her husband killed in battle. He thought he got away with it, until the prophet Nathan showed up and exposed the entire conspiracy to the world. The fallout was catastrophic, leading to the death of his child and turmoil in his kingdom. It's a timeless story that proves that no one is above reproach, and that secrets, especially those of the powerful, rarely stay secret forever.
The Pope is making headlines for criticizing American politicians, and many are saying he should stay out of politics. But Jesus' entire ministry was a direct challenge to the political and religious establishment of his day. He wasn't just a spiritual teacher, he was a radical figure who broke religious laws, challenged the authority of the ruling council, and was ultimately executed by the Roman state for political reasons. The charge against him was King of the Jews. He constantly spoke out against the hypocrisy of the powerful and sided with the poor and marginalized. When the Pope weighs in on issues like immigration and poverty, he's not doing something new. He's following the exact playbook of Jesus, who never shied away from confronting the political powers of his time. It's a reminder that faith has always been political.